Carlie Robinson, Director of Digital Marketing at Robinson Creative, and this is Talk Digi to Me. Today's guest is very near and dear to my heart. Corey McClean, brand architect at One Marque Inc. Corey builds brands from the ground up. He's been doing this for over 10 years, working in startup businesses for corporate clients across the Caribbean. So happy that you're here with me today, Corey, especially because we have done so many podcasts together. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've been co-hosting for a long time.
And switching sides of the same arrangement.
I know,
so,
but finally we're talking about marketing.
Finally,
something that is so close to both of our hearts.
And that we do all day, every day.
All day, every day. I know. So tell me, what's a brand architect?
So I call myself a brand architect for a reason. Because I think of a brand as a large structure, right? And well, there are different ideas and how people think of brands. I like to build it from the very inception of an idea, right? So whenever I think about building a brand, it always starts with what's the nucleus of this, and then I can build from that. And that can be something as small as a little one-story building, or it could be a skyscraper, but it always has to start with a strong foundation. So that's how I look at building a brand.
Yeah.
So I always say I build brands from the ground up.
I love that. What are some of the elements that go into a brand? Like, I think probably the first thing people will always think of is, the logo. Right. Yeah, so, the logo is the brand.
Yeah. So people always think logo first, but that's not where it stops. The logo is very, very important component of a brand, but it's only one very small component of a brand. It's part of a visual brand. But so you think about brand, you think about logo, you think of color, you think of the tone of voice and the message and all of that stuff. But I think of a brand as an emotion. The brand is really how this business, this person makes you feel.
Yeah.
And from there, all your decisions are made.
Yeah.
Right? You do business with people that you know, like, and trust. Not you do business with people who are well dressed.
Yeah.
The way that they dress affects how you feel about them. The way that they smell affects how you feel about them. This business that you are looking to buy a product from, they may have the cheapest price, but it's how you feel about that product.
Exactly. So it's really about the story that it's telling you and like your reaction to that story.
Exactly. So the entire story, from what is their purpose, do they support the dogs, and, are they made from sustainable, ethically sourced materials, if that floats your boat? They're vegan, they're not vegan, they're carnivore, they're whatever, right? But the story all then comes together, and the way that you feel about that then is what influences where you place them on the pedestal.
In your own register. And I think that's important too, because something that when you look at building a brand and the story that you're going to be telling your consumers, you're also looking at, well, who's my buyer persona? Who's my consumer? What's the story that they want for themselves too?
Exactly.
So am I, like you said, a sustainable brand? Is that my core? Are the people I'm talking to also, is that something that's really important to them, that will resonate with them?
It's a relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
starting a relationship.
It's a relationship. Like, you want to be in a relationship with a person that is similar to you and has similar ideals to you. Same thing with a business, same thing with a product. Why do you wear this shirt? Because it makes me feel good.
I want to talk to you about some of the brands that you yourself have started. I mean, I think like ages ago when we first met, of course, there was Sips. And I think that, that was a long time ago, but that's definitely something that really made a mark. Big orange
I think
fans.
so. Like,
that made a huge mark.
Sips was really a place that I was able to try all this stuff and see that it actually worked in real life. And and you talk about the first thing that you said was orange, right? It was orange on purpose, and it was that particular shade of orange on purpose. For those that don't know, like, Sips was a mobile smoothie bar. Like, there were a lot of very deliberate decisions that were made. Why was it called Sips? Because it was a smoothie bar. Like, sounds simple, right? And that's what I say about well done brands.
Yes.
it almost seems obvious.
Yes.
Why would a smoothie bar
Simplicity.
be exactly? Why would a smoothie bar be called Sips? Because they sell things you sip on. Duh, right? Like,
and orange is freshness, and
orange is
like
fresh and it's energetic and
absolutely.
it's bright and it's happy. I remember the first time that someone saw the exact color that we were using, and she just started smiling. She said, "I don't know why, but orange just always makes me feel so happy." I said, "Yes."
The feeling, the emotion.
Right. That's it.
That's exactly
That's
it.
the reason that's there. The tagline for Sips was "Make your day better," not "Make your day good."
Make your day better.
We have the best, freshest tasting, biggest, cheapest. It doesn't matter. Make your day better. And then we built that into campaigns. This was a cup of happy.
Yeah.
So it was at a point where you could get a milkshake from anywhere. You could get a smoothie from anywhere, but where could you get a cup of happy? Only at Sips.
I love that. And like that brings me to talking about all the elements that go into a brand and a brand's identity. The tagline is one, the color palette is another, the tone of voice. I really love when I get to work on telling the story of a new brand. So if a company wants to rebrand maybe or make tweaks to what they have, getting the opportunity to sit down and look at, all right, what's your color palette? My job is to write the story of why these colors are important and what they mean to people and how they'll make them feel, and come up with that whole like concept that really takes something from, okay, yeah, it's blue, it's green, it's silver, whatever. It's blue because it's this, it's green because it's that.
It's this
like,
particular
I love
blue
doing
because
that. Yeah.
My favorite thing is when you have a client. So, and if I'm working for a client or if I'm the client, and I actually find that me being the client is harder.
Are you harder to please?
Let me tell you.
Are you difficult to work with?
So it's like if you have a client that trusts you implicitly and they're willing to give you free reign, where now you can work with them because you're helping them to tell their story, but then you get to suggest things to them and they say, hey, I'll take that and I'll make a change here. And then you come in not at the end where people like to put marketing, but at the very beginning, which is, like I said, from the ground up, right?
Yeah.
I have an idea to build this. And I said, oh, great. That's lovely. Let's go here, 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 and here. What are you trying to achieve? Because now all your decisions can stem from what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Who are you trying to build it for? Oh, these people, right. Maybe you should be a little more narrow in who you're aiming for so that your message is more targeted, so that it's more effective. Because if I'm talking to everyone
is no one.
Everyone is no one because they won't all hear it in the same way.
Correct.
But if I'm saying something to you, I can use words that you understand, the language that you understand, the tone, the volume that is relevant to you. Because if I'm trying to speak to everyone down the street and I'm just shouting at the top of my lungs, it's going to be way too loud.
Tone is something that's really important. Of course, like a lot of my foundational skills are in writing. That's kind of like, since I was a child, I was writing, and professional writing was what I studied. Looking at the tone of voice and the types of words you use for different brands, especially when we get to things like social media, and you're going to design like, all right, well, how are the captions going to work? What do we think is going to sound like? Is this going to be corporate where people are using long words? Maybe they don't use like abbreviations and slang and that kind of thing. Or maybe it's a really fun brand, like maybe an alcohol brand or something for like young people where you want to be using their language and speaking to them.
And it all has to match.
Exactly. Yes, because if you think about your brand experience, you don't want your social media to be super informal. Maybe you don't even spell things right the whole time, but that's okay because that's your target market. But then your website is like, welcome,
exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
So
like that's not, things are not cohesive.
So you want, your social media to match with your website, which has to match with your product, which has to match with your store, which has to match with your receptionist.
Yes.
But it has to match with your audience, because if your audience now is expecting super corporate, you can't come to them on social being all relaxed.
Yes, like please, if you're my bank, like please don't be too relaxed. I want you to know what you're doing.
I don't want my bank being too relaxed. I don't want my
I don't want my accountant
being too relaxed.
to sound younger than me.
Right? I want to trust.
Yes.
See, this is where that comes in.
Yeah.
I want to trust that when I give you my money, it'll be there in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to trust that when you go to file my taxes, that they're actually filed,
there.
right? I want to trust that stuff. So now we're thinking, well, hold on. What is the relationship that you, the accountant, the bank, want to put forward for me?
Yeah.
It's strength,
Exactly.
trust, dependability.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where now you can use the words that signal that, the images that signal that to me, the colors that signal that to me, which is why every bank in the world is blue.
So dependable.
Because it's the stereotypical, strong, dependable color.
Yeah.
Right? You got some that go outside of that. We got red, and you're trying to, lean on, force and passion and all that stuff. But it's gonna be a different shade of red.
Exactly.
So maybe
deeper
dark,
deeper
strong.
red. CIBC Caribbean kind of like deep.
Right. So you got a maybe you might have a red that feels more like it went to school, as opposed to hey, I'm a happy Scarlet. Right? It's different. It's a different kind of red.
Yeah.
And it's like when you go into that, like the blinking red light on the camera is like. That is so not the bank right?
Yeah.
But
different feeling.
It's a different feeling because that's a
from
happy color.
different colors.
Right.
I want to talk about connections. Because offline we were talking about a booth that you created for FinTech Islands for one of your clients, and I thought that was such a genius way of bringing a brand to life in an outdoor space like that. So why don't you tell us about that?
So we had a client. They're based off island, and FinTech Islands conference was taking place in Barbados. Now they would only be here physically for the conference, and they wanted to have a presence at said conference. But they also didn't want to have a traditional booth.
Yeah, so not tables, like tabletop feather banner.
Right, they didn't want to just have flyers and just sit there and like, hi.
Yeah.
Right, they didn't want to do that. So we took it all the way back. We're like, what are you trying to achieve? So we looked at what they do. They are a service provider that helps external businesses establish in the Caribbean. So if you're from Sweden and you want to start up your startup based in Antigua or St. Lucia or wherever in the Caribbean, then they would facilitate that entire thing, that whole process, and help you to establish yourself here and go through the process easier without, the hassle of now learning a new place, right? And they also wanted to make connections with potential leads, potential customers, potential clients at the conference. We took those two things together and we said, well, if you want to make connections in the Caribbean, the quintessential place where you make connections in the Caribbean is the rum shop.
Yes.
So what we proposed to them was, why don't we, instead of a booth, why don't we make your booth a rum shop?
I love that.
Okay? So we designed a rum shop facade for their booth space, and as a trigger to come to the booth where you would receive, information about all their other services and stuff, you get a free bottle of rum punch. Visit the booth, get a free bottle of rum punch. So we produce rum punch for them with their logo, branding, and everything on it. In the booth, we then had on the screen at the back of the TV, instead of sports playing, it was like a rolling services. This is what we do. This is who we are. So reinforcing their USP right there on the screen. So even if you in that moment aren't speaking directly to someone, you're not getting something in your hand, you can see it. It's right there on the screen.
I think that's such a good idea, a good way to make that instant connection, almost like a conversation starter, and so memorable. I feel like probably I'm sure their booth was very busy with people
It was,
from the
because-
conference
so-
wanting to get this free rum punch, but
then
also
you want
a
to
story to tell.
Yeah, it's a story to tell,
Yeah.
but then you still remember what's the purpose of this, right?
Yeah.
You want to make these connections to these people so that you could possibly, share with them your services. So that's where we went a further step. We're like, well, it's going to be busy. You can't talk to everyone there. You can't share with everyone there. That's where we embedded a QR code on top of the bar counter, and as a trigger again to leave your information to be contacted later, you get the opportunity to win a bottle of premium rum.
Mm-hmm.
So you flew into Barbados for this conference, and now you get to walk away the opportunity of winning a premium rum. And you're here at this cool booth, you're meeting with these people who have these fantastic services, and you're like, hey, I want to set up my business in Barbados. Maybe they can help.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I want to move to someplace warm.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the whole premise of that. And that went really, really well.
Super, super, super cool. I want to talk to you now about maybe like, are there any brands like locally, because we've been talking about, building from the ground up. It could be a skyscraper, you have great big budget, maybe international reach and so on, but also maybe on a smaller level, single story or so. Are there any very, very local Bajan brands that you think really got it right?
Yeah,
you love?
They are brands here that do a really good job. I like Beer Gang 246.
I feel like that's you.
It is not mine.
No, I mean not. Yeah, but I feel like that resonates with you.
Right.
I could. That's something you can see the brand. You go, oh, I feel like my friend Corey would be like
It
that. I feel
makes
like my
sense,
friend
right?
Bubbles would be like that. I feel like
It makes sense.
It does.
So, and whenever I see a brand that I like, I tell everybody about it. So
Yes.
Beer Gang 246, that's one that I really enjoy. I use it. I'm a customer. I'm not in any way affiliated, but I support them, right?
Yeah. Tells your story.
It does.
Yeah.
It helps me tell a good story too, right? St. Lucie Botanist, they do a really good job. They did a repackage, rebrand kind of thing.
I was going to say their packaging is very nice.
And it's always been nice,
Yeah.
but what they did something very interesting. They had a very clean, very minimalistic aesthetic before, but then they just switched it and leaned all the way into this very floral, the energy that I get from it, and I'm not sure if this is what they're actually intended. The energy I get from it feels very, like those historic Greek scenes where you have like, the thing, like the water nymphs, with the vessel.
Sensual might be the word we're looking for.
It's sensual, yes.
Yeah.
There's very lot of flowers, it's very maximalist, floral silhouettes all over the packaging. It feels, again, sensual. It feels fresh with this blue. I don't even know how to describe the blue. It's like a bright teal.
Yeah.
Right? And
like the ocean.
It looks like the ocean. It feels like flowing water and
Barbados are known
flowers.
for, and
Right.
therefore produced right here.
And
like that's the story
yeah.
I would write if I was,
And the thing is, yes, did they change the actual product? No.
Exactly.
But this is
just sweet.
It gives a different emotion when you interact with it.
Yeah.
It feels more elevated. Don't get me wrong, St. Lucie always felt elevated. It's always had that, like the candles are in, what is it? Like
the little thingy is so,
type
it got good weight to it. So you feel like, it's good quality.
It feels like good quality.
Yeah.
In terms of like services and stuff, like I always tip my hat to Fabulash. Right. I know Claire personally. I know what she's done, but we've worked together on her projects and her business, and what she's come to the market with is a solid service. She has great product, yes, but the way it looks, it feels the experience of being there.
The experience.
You know who's really, really good? Quality Tire.
Oh my God, I love Quality Tire.
Because People don't go to Quality Tire and say, "Oh, the tires were good." It's a tire.
The experience is what you want.
She brought me tea in the waiting area, and you're like,
you're sold
wow.
from there.
You're sold.
100% quality, right?
Yeah, there's
that makes a difference. And you know what?
Every employee,
it's a 25-cent tea bag, whatever.
Yeah, every person that works at Quality Tire seems invested in your car.
That's another point I want to bring back around really quick. When we were talking about all the elements of your brand identity, you mentioned, even your receptionist.
Of course.
You have to really make sure that the people who are the face of your brand on a day-to-day to your consumers are also champions of your brand and carry the same...
you know what frustrates me?
What?
You know what frustrates me is when you go into a store and the receptionist, the cashier... they don't want to be there.
Yeah, you can tell that they don't like their job.
But why are you here?
Yeah.
In this role?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's not a people person.
Yeah.
But why would you be the last or first representative of this business?
But that's like one thing that I think companies could probably look to invest more time in and invest more in is making sure that their people are bought into, to use those words, into their brand and into the whole vision and are their brand champions, that they are passionate about what they're doing. And that's a whole HR element to branding.
Again, but that's part of it.
Exactly.
That's part of it.
It's as important as your logo, important as your color palette, important is your tone of voice in a way.
Everything is branding.
Yeah.
And every aspect of your business, every touch point of your business influences your brand. Is it the smell of your AC? Does your business have a smell? Right?
That is, yes. I feel like no one's caught on to that yet here. Maybe we need to start that up. Yeah, I'm going to diversify. Okay, I want to talk to you about one of your brands, and maybe you can give a little insight into what was the thinking? Yummy.
All right, cool. So,
because if anybody knows you personally, they know
exactly, right?
Coffee.
Exactly. Coffee is
so what went into this?
Like my passion. All right, is something that I do. It's I drink coffee multiple times a day. But more importantly, I resonate with the passion, the art, the craft of making coffee. So making coffee, the ritual of making coffee, the art of, growing and roasting and cultivating coffee. The fact that you could have a basic coffee, but you could have a coffee that's well made.
And has a story behind it.
Has a story behind it. How I got into this is, I love coffee, but you can get coffee everywhere. Every supermarket sells coffee, right? But I don't connect to random off-the-shelf coffee.
Yes.
What I do like is the act and the nerdiness of geeking out over a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It takes me 10 minutes to make one cup of coffee, right? But I love that.
But a lifetime to enjoy it.
Exactly. Because now is more than that.
Yes,
because,
exactly.
So, for any brand, you have to start with a good product, right? Like, that's the bare minimum. You can't build a good brand on a garbage product. So, what I wanted to do with Bean Theory is, it's more than the coffee, but it has to start with good coffee, right? Bean Theory, I started to teach people to look for and expect good coffee first. And once they get that part, then let's start talking about connecting people and spaces and the experience of coffee. But we start with basic level. This is good coffee. So, I curate coffee for Bean Theory.
I love how you use the word curate.
It's curated.
That goes right down into the language around any product.
The entire thing is curated.
Yeah.
So the beans that
it's art.
Are in the small batch limited edition runs of coffee that I do, which are all labeled and themed. But then what's connected to this each coffee, I curate a playlist to accompany it, because when you're making your coffee, you're going to sit and you drink and have an experience with a friend or by yourself with a book. But the idea is the notes, the story of this coffee. Why is this one called home? Because This one it's nuanced and warm and cozy, right? The one before this one was called Ritual, which celebrated the ritual of, brewing your own cup of coffee at home and then sitting with a friend. This one is about being at home and that coming home feeling. No matter what happened outside, you come home to a cup of coffee. Is it morning? Is it evening? Is it afternoon? But you've just come home when you brew that cup of coffee. But it's nuanced. It's not simple. So the playlist that goes along with this one's completely different to the playlist that went with Ritual, because I want you to have a different experience. The idea is take that ride, right?
Yeah.
Go with it.
Yeah.
Go with the emotions, because in this, the notes, as you drink it, it changes. So it feels different. It's a different experience as you go through it.
I want to thank you for sharing with me today. We talked about storytelling. We talked about brands and their emotions that they're trying to get. It's not about selling a product. It's about, what does this make you feel? Tell me about, what's your next steps right now? What are you working on?
Ooh, man, right now there is I just build brands, man.
Top secret.
No, seriously. So I'm always working on, if it's not a brand for a client, it's my own brand.
Yeah.
We have one that's in the works right now. It's completely under wraps, but it's so good.
We can't wait for it.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm so good. I am so good, but I'm so excited about that particular brand. Like, when it drops, it's going to be good.
Definitely looking forward to what is coming next from Corey McClean, brand architect at One Marque Inc. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Talk Digi to Me, and I'm your host, Carlie Robinson.